It is June 7th, 2021. My name's Tim, the BTWN guy, giving you some Christian news with some Christian commentary and also some cultural news. What's going on in the world? BTWN News, June 7th, 2021. I've got all kinds of stuff. Let me tell you where we're going. We're going all over the place. We are going to look in on what's happening with James Coates. We're going to look at what Rebel News is saying. We're going to look at Tim Stevens. We're going to look at the last video that I made. I've got some corrections and some updates. And we're going to look at what Rebel News had to say about that. We're going to look at Sky News. We're going to look at Eric Metaxes. We're going to talk about John MacArthur. We're going to talk about gay pride in Canada. We're going to talk about Rick Warren. We're going to talk about sinning against God, teacher put on leave after a speech. And that is where we are going today on BTWN News. Before we get started, please check out my website, btwnnews.com, btwnnews.com. When you're there, put your email address on this top yellow bar right there, and there you will be registered for my monthly newsletter. Also, you can check out blog articles and podcasts for your edification and enjoyment, not just from me, but from the many other men who create content under the banner of BTWN. And then please consider supporting this YouTube channel. You can click on support our ministry. You can send a physical check by clicking there. You'll get the address. You can support on Patreon, or you can support on PayPal. When you click on Patreon, you will get a list of all the videos, including this video. The Patreon supporters have already watched. And I made a video right before I started recording this. I made a video for the Patreon supporters of any amount. You can watch it. You can watch this video without advertising. Speaking of advertising, my last video right here, viewer alert, this video has been ruled too violent for advertisers by YouTube. And the funny thing is, when you click on it now, advertisements happen. If you're wondering why that is, first of all, let me tell you, I'm not getting any advertisement advantage from that. YouTube is. If you're wondering why that is, I explained that on my video to my Patreon supporters. All right, so let's get into the news. Breaking news at Protestia.com. Breaking news, James Coates' charter rights were not violated, judge says. They weren't violated? The man spent 35 and a half days in a maximum prison. The judge heard a case. Judge Robert of the Alberta Provincial Court ruled that Pastor Coates' charter rights were not violated when he was arrested and jailed for 35 days for the crime of breaching COVID health orders handed. This is a loss to James Coates' position and to his lawyers, so it is unfortunate. Pastor Coates was charged with one count of violating Alberta's Public Health Act, the result of refusing to stop in-person services at Grace Life Church despite a court order logged against him. So that is unfortunate. So what happens now? So what happens next for Pastor James Coates and the folks there at Grace Church? We will play this video from Rebel News. She's going to tell us what's happening next. And all the links to all these videos and articles will be in the description of this video if you want to dig deeper.
Yeah, now trial isn't over yet. It's simply been adjourned to continue to proceed on June 30th now that all these issues of charter violations have been completely resolved. One thing I should note here too, the Crown Prosecutor, Karen Thorsrud, remains in secret. She is simply identifying herself as the public health prosecutor. So you can force a church underground and then you can hide your identity from the scrutiny of people who would find your actions shameful. That's the legal system here in Alberta. So I guess that's it, friends. You can lock up a pastor for 35 days in Alberta. You can take away his church, fence it off, force the congregation underground. And if it's all done in the name of public safety, I guess that's just fine in the eyes of the Alberta government and what we call a legal system around here. All this, though, from the very same politicians who would be the first in line to scold the Chinese government for doing to Christians in Hong Kong that which they are doing to Christians here. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn-Reid.
All right. So pray for Pastor James Coates. He's going back to court. He's going back to court very soon. So be in prayer for that. Let me change my screen. Now, this is weird, though, because, look, this was breaking a week ago. Government forced to drop charges against illegally jailed pastor Tim Stevens. Now, why is that? They're both in Alberta, and Pastor Stevens is in Calgary, which is just south of Edmonton, where Pastor Coates is. Why is his charges dropped and James Coates is not? Here's the reason why. If you're wondering, they arrested Tim Stevens for breaking the judge's ruling, and I guess in order to do that, they have to be served ahead of time. They have to be served ahead of time by the police. So they have to get a court order saying, hey, you have to comply to this or we're going to arrest you. And they gave it to the wrong guy. So because they gave it to the wrong guy, they wrongly arrested Tim Stevens. Doesn't mean he can't still be arrested. So please pray for him and his situation as well. Pastor Tim Stevens of Fairview Baptist Church. Are people still getting COVID in Canada? I mean, like, the numbers are really low. I reported on this situation. Nearly 40 police swarm church service, choke congregant in violent takedown. This is from Protestia.com. I'm not going to show any videos because that's a little too violent, so I'm going to show you some pictures. I identified the wrong person. The correct person is indeed this gentleman. He is the one who was arrested, and he is the one who is pictured here. And this is an interesting picture because this is right when that woman, this is a different angle than I showed you in my last video. This is the health police person who just seemingly randomly pointed at this gentleman and said, grab him. And the police officer behind him, I mean, you could see he's walking away. He's walking away from the gathering because the police have told him to leave. And she says, grab him. And they grabbed him, tackled him to the ground. You can watch that different angle. This is the angle that I did not have. This is why I identified the wrong person being arrested. You can watch the more clear angle here. This is what happened when police stormed a peaceful church service. Link in the description of this video. This video is just awesome. This is Sky News. This is Sky News Australia. And this gentleman is reporting on the incident that I reported on. And he's interviewing. They show really violent police action. And they interview this. Let me see if they interview this woman who she emailed me multiple times. to give me some corrections on my reporting. But I'm not going to play this 6-minute video. I encourage you to watch it. I encourage you to watch it because it gives you a really good understanding of what's happening in Australia. Boy, we here in America, we think, our COVID restrictions are really tight, and oppressive, and, who are they to tell us we can't have our church services, which is a legitimate concern. But in other places in the world, like Australia, I watched a video earlier this week of a gentleman who was out with his son eating. They were sitting in their car parked on the street, and the police ran his tags. And because he was more than 10 kilometers from his house, they tried to arrest the guy right there in front of his son. But his son was crying so hard that the police gave up. And no word if they went to his house later to arrest him or to give him a ticket or whatever. I have family in Spain, and when they had their COVID lockdowns, you would have neighbors report you if you went out. And I heard of some of my family members going out to take the garbage out and being stopped and watched by the authorities to make sure that they turn around and went right back in their house. I have family members with multiple children that are very young in Spain, and for weeks they weren't allowed to leave. The children were not allowed to leave their little tiny apartment. So we here in the United States, we've got a lot less police health restrictions, but we got a lot. We got more than we should have. So pray for these people all around the world. Eric Metaxes radio, gone off YouTube. Gone. Why? Well, because he violated YouTube's policies. Can't do that. I have done that. I've done that a lot. But I don't have any concerning strikes right now. But he had too many, and he is gone. But I'll be gone someday. So you'll have to subscribe to my newsletter, BTWN News at btwnnews.com. Subscribe. Put your address in that top yellow bar so that if I do leave YouTube, you'll know where to find me. Okay? But Eric Metaxes, the number one reason why he got kicked off is because he kept talking about the election not being legit. And you can't do that. You can't do that. Like, it's not really freedom of speech here on YouTube. And I might have issues just by telling you that. I'm not sure. We'll see how it goes. It would be safer for me to just talk about John MacArthur and talk about how awesome John MacArthur is. When I do that, I get more views, more subscribers, and YouTube leaves me alone when I just talk about how wonderful John MacArthur is. And he is wonderful. He is great. And he is a lot of things. I've been watching videos on him. I'm not just going to report on John MacArthur, but it was a lot safer when I just talked about how wonderful John MacArthur was. The nation of Canada. Are you enjoying Pride Month? Well, apparently Canada is enjoying it so much. Again, Protestia.com reporting, 1 month isn't enough. Canada declares Pride season. Pride is a sin. Pride season lasting all summer. Yeehaw. This is from Breitbart. They reposted it. The government of Canada has announced that 1 month is not sufficient for the celebration of LGBT Pride and that the festivals will be extended to cover the whole season. Here's the tweet. The tweet from Free to Be Me. 1 month isn't enough. Pride season takes place from June to September with local events across the country celebrating the resilience and spirit of the LGBTQ2 people in Canada. Well, that's exciting. You know, you can be prideful in our culture today of everything, whatever it is. You can be full of pride for your sexuality, whatever you choose. You can be proud of the identity that you have for your gender and your skin color. You can be proud of everything, unless you look like me. Can't be proud of that. Troubling. All right. Saddleback pastor Rick Warren announces a search for his successor. Influential pastor Rick Warren has announced that after more than 40 years as the lead pastor at Saddleback Church in California, he will be soon stepping down from his current role with the church. Is it just me, or I thought Saddleback wasn't in California? Should have read that before. I thought it was somewhere else. I thought it was like in Ohio. I'm wrong. Maybe they're wrong, but it's more likely that I'm wrong. Let's hear what he's got to say.
Cameras that people used before we had digital cameras. The Polaroid camera would actually print a small photo directly from your camera. You'd take the picture and the photo would come out undeveloped, and as you held it and looked at it, it would slowly get clearer and clearer. At first the picture was fuzzy and you couldn't see anything on it, but as you waited and the chemicals did their process, it turned into an actual picture. The longer you looked at it, the clearer it got. That's what I mean.
All his campuses are California cities.
I have never seen the future clearly. I don't think anybody does. But as I look at something, it gets clearer and clearer over time. And that's the way I feel about even this process of finding who's going to be our next generation lead pastor. Now, the third thing I want you to know is this: how much I love you.
I love you too.
How much I love you, how much I appreciate you, how much I feel so privileged to be your pastor.
And then he goes on to give 3 reasons why he's leaving. His third reason is his health. He's not real healthy, despite the Daniel diet. So pray for Rick Warren, pray for his theology, and pray the Lord would turn that church around. You know, the thing about Rick Warren, I'll give you my thoughts about Rick Warren. Boy, when he's with a group of Catholics, he will say the things that Catholics love to hear. And when he's in a room full of people who are Reformed, he says all the things he should say. He says all the right things. And when he's with evangelicals with weak theology, he says all the things that they might want to hear. Basically, he is a chameleon. Unfortunately, who knows what he believes? You know what this guy believes? This is a teacher. I won't play this because this video might be taken down from YouTube, but a teacher put on leave after a speech on refusing to lie about transgenderism. An elementary school physical education teacher in Virginia was placed on leave after an explosive speech in which he told his school board he wouldn't affirm the biological boy can be a girl and vice versa. During his school board meeting, the teacher voiced his opposition to policies surrounding gender. My name is Tanner Cross, and I'm speaking out of love for those who are suffering from gender dysphoria, Cross told the board. He went on to discuss a 60-minute special about the issue. He went on to discuss it. Okay. There's a 1-minute video here. They call this article, Christian News said it was explosive. he spoke very softly and very lovingly about scientific truths, and he's now placed on leave. How long will it be before speaking the truth about the Bible will result in the same thing? I think it's already happening. If you speak clear enough about some of the truths in the scriptures, same thing will happen. That's BTWN News for June 7th, 2021. Send your feedback to Bible Thumping Wingnut. That's the old name. BTWNnews@gmail.com. BTWNnews@gmail.com. You can send all your feedback. Like, subscribe, share, do all that. Check out my website and consider supporting. Thank you. Till next time, may God bless each and every one of you. See ya.